stop, the consequences will be that the region will suffer with us equally. In the past we have suffered alone. This time everybody will suffer with us. Any effort to divide Afghanistan ethnically or weaken it will create the same thing in the neighboring countries. All the countries in the neighborhood have the same ethnic groups that we have, so they should know that it is a different ball game this time. Imam Faizi, spokesman for the Afghan president, stated in October 2012 that the Durand Line is an issue of historical importance for Afghanistan. The Afghan people, not the government, can take a final decision on it. Recent border skirmishes. In July 2003, Pakistani and Afghan forces clashed over border posts. The Afghan government claimed that the Pakistani military established bases up to 600 meters inside Afghanistan in the Yaqubi area near bordering Momen district. The Yaqubi and Yaqubi-Kandau Pass area were later found to fall within Afghanistan. In 2007, Pakistan erected fences and posts a few hundred meters inside Afghanistan near the border straddling Bazaar of Angor-Ada in South Waziristan. But the Afghan National Army quickly removed them and began shelling Pakistani positions. Leaders in Pakistan said the fencing was a way to prevent Taliban militants from crossing over between the two nations. But Afghan President Hamid Karzai believed that it is Islamabad's plan to permanently separate the Pashtun tribes. Special forces from the United States Army were based at Shkin, Afghanistan, 7 kilometers west of Angor-Ada, from 2002. In 2009, the International Security Assistance Force, ISAF, and American CIA began using unmanned aerial vehicles from the Afghan side to hit terrorist targets on the Pakistani side of the Durand Line. The border area between Afghanistan and Pakistan has long been one of the most dangerous places in the world, due largely to very little government control. It is legal and common in the region to carry guns, and assault rifles and explosives are common. Many forms of illegal activities take place, such as smuggling of weapons, narcotics, lumber, copper, gemstones, marble, vehicles, and electronic products, as well as ordinary consumer goods. Kidnappings and murders are frequent. Militants frequently cross the border from both sides to conduct attacks. In June 2011, more than 500 Taliban militants entered Upper DR area from Afghanistan and killed more than 30 Pakistani security forces. Police said the attackers targeted a checkpost, destroyed 2 schools and several houses, while killing a number of civilians. The governments of Pakistan and Afghanistan are both trying to extend the rule of law into the border areas. At the same time, the United States is reviewing the Reconstruction Opportunity Zones (ROZ) Act in Washington, D.C., which is supposed to help the economic status of the Pashtun and Baloch tribes by providing jobs to a large number of the population on both sides of the Durand Line border. Much of the northern and central Durand Line is quite mountainous, where crossing the border is often only practical in the numerous passes through the mountains. Border crossing is very common, especially among Pashtuns who cross to meet relatives or to work. The movement of people across the border has largely been unchecked or uncontrolled, although passports and visas are at times checked at official crossings. In June 2011, the United States installed a biometric system at the border crossing near Spin Boldak, aimed at improving the security situation and blocking the infiltration of insurgents into southern Afghanistan. Throughout June and into July 2011, Pakistan Chitral scouts and local defense militias suffered deadly cross-border raids. In response, the Pakistani military shelled some Afghan villages in Afghanistan's Nuristan, Kunar, Nangarhar, and Khost provinces, resulting in a number of Afghan civilians being killed. Afghanistan's Interior Ministry claimed that nearly 800 rockets were fired from Pakistan, hitting civilian targets inside Afghanistan. The Afghan statement claimed that attacks by Pakistan resulted in the deaths of 42 Afghan civilians, including 30 men and 12 women and girls, wounded 55 others and destroyed 120 homes. Although Pakistan claimed it was an accident and just routine anti-Taliban operations, some analysts believe that it could have been a show of strength by Islamabad. For example, a senior official at the Council on Foreign Relations explained that because the shelling was of such a large scale, it was more likely a warning from Pakistan than an accident. The United States and other NATO states often ignored this sensitive issue, likely because of potential effects on their war strategy in Afghanistan. Their involvement could have strained relations and jeopardized their own national interests in the area. This came after the November 2011 NATO bombing in which 24 Pakistani soldiers were killed. In response to that incident, Pakistan decided to cut off all NATO supply lines as well as boost border security by installing anti-aircraft guns and radars to monitor air activity. Regarding the Durand Line, some rival maps are said to display discrepancies of as much as 5 kilometers. Trench being built alongside the border. In June 2016, Pakistan announced that it had completed 1,100 kilometers of trenches along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, Durand Line, in Balochistan to check movement of terrorists and smugglers across border into Pakistan from Afghanistan. Plans to expand this trench, berm, fence work were announced in March 2017. The plans also included building 338 checkpoints and forts along the border by 2019. 2017 border closure and reopening. On February 16, Pakistan closed the border crossings at Torkham and Chaman due to security reasons following the Saiwan blast. On March 7, the border was reopened for 2 days to facilitate the return of people to their respective countries who had earlier crossed the border on valid visas. The decision was taken after repeated requests by Afghanistan's government to avert a humanitarian crisis. According to a Pakistani official, 24,000 Afghans returned to Afghanistan, while 700 Pakistanis returned to Pakistan, before the border was indefinitely closed again. On March 20th, Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif ordered the reopening of Afghanistan-Pakistan border as a goodwill gesture, 32 days after it was closed. On May 5th, following an attack on Pakistani census team by Afghan forces and the resulting exchange of fire between the two sides, the border was closed again. Pakistan's decision to close the border was to force Afghanistan to take action against militant groups who were using Afghanistan's soil to carry out cross-border attacks against Pakistan. An Afghan diplomat at the World Trade Organization, WTO, claimed that Afghanistan suffered a loss of $90 million as a result of closure of border by Pakistan. On May 27, 2017, Pakistan reopened the border after a request from Afghan authorities, marking the end of the border closure that lasted 22 days. Border barrier. Afghanistan-Pakistan border barrier. Pakistan is constructing a border barrier since 2017 to prevent terrorism, drug trafficking, refugees, illegal immigration, smuggling and infiltration across the Durand Line. According to Pakistan, the barrier is also necessary to block the infiltration of militants across the border. As of January 2019, 900 kilometers has been completed. The Durand Line is marked by 235 crossing points, many of which had been susceptible to illegal immigration. The project is predicted to cost at least $532 million. As of January 21, 2022, the Interior Minister of Pakistan stated that only 20 kilometers of fencing remains, and it will be completed soon. So, the Durand Line continues to shape the geopolitical landscape of South Asia, fueling tensions and conflicts between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Until both countries can find a mutually acceptable solution, the border will remain a symbol of historical grievances and unresolved territorial disputes. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of the Durand Line. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of global issues. Until next time, stay curious.